The decision to charge the Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan with fraud hasn't wiped out an estimated 34, 35, maybe even 50 billion rand of the JSE Banks Index. It also brought to the fore political risk premium of investing in South Africa, and this unfolding economic and political drama in the country is certainly front of mind of anybody who's vaguely sensible. I'm Bruce Whitfield. This is your special edition of the MoneyMakers, and joining me for this discussion, Glynos, the Chief Economist and Managing Director at ETM Analytics, Annabel Bishop, who's the Chief Economist at Investec, and Dr Adrian Saville, the Chief Strategist at Cannon Asset Managers and also at Citadel Asset Management. We saw the currency market, as Adrian reflected earlier, George, barely respond yesterday. I mean, it's 3.5% on the rand. Anything significant? Hardly. Today there's a bit of weakness with the pound having a bit of a surge. We're down about 2% against the pound, but we're not bad against the dollar. We're not bad against the euro. Currency holding up. What's happening in the bond market? What is happening to the expectations of our cost of borrowing as a result of the shenanigans going on in our politics?
Well, bonds actually responded even less than the currency. So, I mean, if the currency over the past 2 days has lost something in the order of about 4%, bonds are probably hovering around the 1.5% to 2% mark. So, nothing dramatic there either. It's actually quite surprising. I would have
anticipated. It makes me quite unsettled.
Well, yes and no.
It might have been in the price already.
Exactly.
Maybe.
So that's one aspect of it. And I mean, we've often spoken about the way that CDS spreads in South Africa are trading at the moment. I mean, you compare them to some junk status countries like a Turkey or a Russia or a Brazil. And we've been trading, our CDS spreads have been trading above theirs for a long time now. It's suggestive, and we still have our investment grade, so it's suggestive that there's quite a lot of bad news already priced into the market. I suspect that there's going to be still more volatility. I mean, we've got to button this down one way or another. And if there's one thing that perhaps I'm looking forward to is this bringing it all to a head. Let's just bring this to a head and be done with it once and for all, so we can move on. Because, I mean, he's right to point out the timing of all of this. I mean, these things relate back to many years ago. You know, why were these not brought up last year or the year before that? Why do we have to wait now? And he's quite right. Why just 2 weeks before a medium-term budget? It's almost orchestrated to try and elevate the level of stress on him to such a degree that he eventually capitulates. And he's not doing it. To his credit, he's not doing it. And I think the fact that civil society has rallied behind him to the degree that they have, I think has perhaps strengthened his resolve.
There's nothing short of extraordinary, isn't it, Annabel? I mean, everybody was taken by surprise on the 9th of December last year. People thought, what kind of idiot would fire a performing finance minister? And on the 9th of December, we found that out. And everyone was very slow to react. And there was this mad silence of people going, it's not, no, really? Did it? And this time around, everyone's ready to come out and box. The holding statements are prepared. You've got Saki Maktozoma and Bobby Gotsel in one corner. You've got Jabu Mabuza, who is sounding a little bit exhausted by what's going on at the moment. The Black Business Council coming out and in support of the legal process and of greater oversight of the Treasury, which was a little bit concerning. But everybody is got their artillery in position.
Yes, I think you're even seeing support coming for him from the South African Communist Party as well. So I think it is actually quite widespread. But I think if you look at the ANC Women's League, they're now using this as an opportunity to talk about colonialism. So I think it's become incredibly political. And I think that's really what the nature of 2016 has been. You know, it's been an intensely political year. And I think that is probably understandable given the fact that the ANC understands that it's on the back foot, that it's losing a lot of voters, and come 2019 we could actually have a watershed change, and we probably will see, given what the municipal election vote showed at that time, if you push that forward into 2019, the ANC could be less than 50% in terms of majority.
Yeah, if it takes that long. The Joburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry has issued its a statement on its concerns on the latest developments involving the Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. So many small and medium enterprises, of course, are in South Africa's economic heartland of Johannesburg. Joining us now is Ellis Mnyandu, who is Head of Advocacy at the Joburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Ellis, you guys are also desperately concerned, and your members, no doubt, are desperately concerned about what is playing out on South Africa's political battlefield right now.
Yes, Bruce. I mean, this is a very unfortunate situation. And as the JCCI, we feel that the country is somewhat also on trial here, because we had seen the instability that December had brought, the December of last year. So this does look like a repeat of that situation, and it's unfortunate because it comes at a time when there's so much going on in terms of things that need the focus and the attention of the National Treasury. For example, if you look at the protest at universities, this is a time when one was hoping that you could see the Treasury play a very significant role in terms of providing input in terms of how we resolve the situation. But now we also have this distraction now in terms of all the attention being focused on these legal processes that have started. Our hope is that due process is followed so that we can reassure investors about the rule of law in the country, as well as bring back some stability in the marketplace.
Elizabeth Mnyandu, thank you, the Head of Advocacy at the Joburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry. What is interesting is who is coming out and boxing on the side of the Finance Minister. Yesterday, we saw none other than the Gauteng Premier, David Makhura, giving his unequivocal support to the Minister.
I would like to take this opportunity to say something to you, Minister Gordhan. I as the Premier of Gauteng Province, on behalf of the government that I lead, without fear of contradiction, we believe in your leadership. We believe in your ethical leadership. And we believe in your ability, even as you face this moment, to continue to work hard, to do your best to steer our economy collectively with many South Africans, to steer our economy on the right path. This is not for anybody else, but for the people of our country. We want you to know that we are fully behind you. I know you, Comrade Pravin. You are an ethical leader. I will never say don't cooperate with the law enforcement agencies. You will go through that process. But as you go through that process, just remember that there is a people and a country to worry about. And that as you go through that, continue to do everything in your power with every iota of energy you have to continue to help us do those things that will help our economy recover. So I say this without doubt that many South Africans feel the same, and that many of you who are sitting here feel the same. So we're not making a statement about the Hawks. We're just making a statement about you.
Carefully hedging his comments, of course, but David Makhura, the Gauteng Premier, being very, very clear in his support. And perhaps more extraordinary was a press conference called yesterday afternoon in which Jackson Mthembu, the Chief Whip of the ANC, expressed his personal support for Pravin Gordhan as well and said, I'll hold your hand into the courtroom effectively if that is what is required. It's a civil war within a political party, some might suggest, and it is this self-immolation of a political party that is facing a 2019 electoral defeat if it doesn't get some kind of cohesion. We haven't heard from Jesse Duarte. We haven't heard from the Secretary General of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, either. They have been absent. They were also absent in the days after Nenegate as well. So there are some interesting days ahead. Economically, though, that's what really matters at this particular point. How does this play out? Let's wrap up with my guests on this special edition of the MoneyMakers, starting with you, Annabel Bishop. Everything depends, I guess, on the Supreme Court of Appeal, which is told the lawyers on both sides of President Jacob Zuma's appeal to them that they need to argue in open court as to why the charges, the 3 charges and 783 counts of fraud, should not be reinstated against the president. Also, then you've got Thuli Madonsela, who says, I'm coming out all guns blazing. Well, she didn't say that, but we know she is, on Friday with my report into state capture. This is game on. Fun to watch, not fun to live through economically. Consequences.
Yes, I think there's an enormous amount on at the moment. And what all of this does, obviously, is create uncertainty, whether it's political uncertainty or economic uncertainty. In particular, investors require certainty in order to invest. And I think you see that from the business confidence levels, which are at very, very low levels.
They're 31-year lows.
Yeah, investor sentiment. Consumer confidence itself shows the biggest subcategory dragging it down as consumers are very uncertain about the macroeconomic future of the economy. So again, big worries about economic growth going forward and how all of this is going to translate into the lives of individuals. And you saw that, of course, with the municipal elections, people voting against the party running the country when the economy has become stagnant, and that happens all over the world. It's not just in South Africa. So I think going forward we're going to see business confidence remain suppressed, which means investment levels won't pick up much in the private sector, and of course that's negative for employment and economic growth.
Yeah, and that's the trouble. I mean, George Glynos, without employment, there is no hope. Without hope, there is no future. We're tinkering with the very fabric that the glue that keeps society together.
Unfortunately, but it is the reality. And look, I will say this much, you know, in monitoring a country like Greece, which is also close to my heart, I've come to realize that at the end of the day, politicians serve at the behest of voters. They will change. I've also come to realize that a country and a set of politicians can only do what a country ultimately can afford to do. So there are some fail-safes that are built in there, and they reside in the markets, especially in an emerging market. South Africa's a lightning rod for emerging market developments, and so it will respond to its own developments just as strongly. And I think there's something to there's almost a sense of comfort that comes through that, because our politicians will be held to account. We go down this path that we're on at the moment, and Rand comes under significant pressure, and the inflation outlook deteriorates. And I mean, you can draw a whole string of consequences as a result of that, and all of a sudden things like nuclear deals become a moot point because they are unaffordable. And so there's a source of comfort there, but it's cold comfort, I guess.
Adrian Saville, I'm wrapping up with you. It was, I think, Bill Clinton's advisor, not Bill Clinton himself, who said it. But you know, one day when I come back, if I believed in reincarnation, I come back as the bond market, because that is the one truth. Yeah. That every politician, no matter what their ideology, no matter what their background, has to face at some point.
You can intimidate everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, look, you know, from an economic perspective, the bond market, George made reference to this, I think has got South Africa priced in, if not in downgrade territory, there or thereabouts. We're world-class at writing policy. We have some world-class institutions. You can write all the policy you like, unless you convert it into the talk to walk. It doesn't materialize, and we're compromising that institutional fabric. I think that the uncertainty Annabel references probably shaves 1%, maybe 1.5% off South Africa's economic growth rate.
Which takes us from a possible 1% positive next year
back to zero in 17, and the cost of that is 40-50 billion rand a year. That is 200 in Candlers.
That is 200 in Candlers, absolutely. And that is the big concern, of course. This has been a special edition of the MoneyMakers as we continue to look at the unfolding drama, the situation regarding the Finance Minister. As things stand, he has got a court date along with Ivan Pillay and along with the former Commissioner of SARS at the court in Pretoria on the 2nd of November. Anything can change. We've seen things change there. But in between now and then, we've got the Supreme Court hearing why charges should not be reinstated against the president. We've also got, of course, the Thuli Madonsela report due out on Friday. There is a lot of water, oil and hellfire to flow under this bridge before we're done and dusted. My thanks to my guests, George Glynos, Chief Economist and Managing Director at ETM Analytics, Annabel Bishop, the Chief Economist at Investec, and Dr Adrian Saville, the Chief Strategist of Cannon Asset Managers, and also we hold down two jobs. He's very busy at Citadel Asset Management as well. That's it from the MoneyMakers for the special edition. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.